Be a really tight matchup. It's going to be exciting.
It absolutely is going to be a drag out fight here. Like you said, we've got a best of 7 coming in hot, and we're going to take a look at these head to head team stats here briefly. We are preparing to get into our match, just waiting on players to join in. Like Fish said, these two teams, top teams in amateur, 42-14 for the Potatoes, 40-16 for Nuwa. They fought all the way through their playoff bracket as well to get to this point, and it has been a long season. It all comes down to this. Fish, you've been taking a look at these stats as we've been waiting. What is your thoughts on these two teams as we head into the series?
Well, number one, I want to give props to the 3rd and 4th seeds, Brass and Radio Waves. They were valiant in their effort. They made the semifinals of the playoffs by the virtue of their falling in the league standings. But it was no chance for them as Potatoes and Nuwa swept their respective opponents in the semifinals and found themselves swiftly here in the finals. And it's going to be such a tight matchup. The goals for is so even. Goals against goes slightly in favor of the Potatoes, but Nuwa's defense still valiant. I will say, though Potatoes have the slightly better record, the head-to-head matchup, it favors Nuwa. In the 2 games over the double round robin season in amateur, Nuwa beat Potatoes 3-1 both times.
Yeah, it's definitely the history is on their side a little bit here, but one of the nice parts about the way this all comes down to is that the history only matters so much, because now they're in the spot where they've got to replicate that. They've got to put up or shut up here, 7 games to get it done. And as we've got all the players here in the lobby, we're going to take a quick look at our lineups for the evening. Potatoes will be in the blue, Nuwa will be in the orange, and our each team consisting of 4 players. RSC, every team has got to have 4 players on it. Potatoes, their 4 players, Anarchist, the Salvation, Dab Status, and Sniper Wolf 006. On the other side in the orange for Nuwa, Prided Bird, Super Shooter, Tech 4, and Papa Lane 88. Everyone there represented from both sides. It's actually kind of nice to see every player on both of these teams with stats in every column, like consistent stats. It always makes me happy to see, especially in these lower tiers, Fish, that everybody's getting a chance to play.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing about the lower divisions. You know, players are taking it super casual, and there's a lot of nights where somebody can't make it. And so as a result, the stats end up pretty even throughout the teams because there's nobody really that's on top. But I will say, Prided Bird 3406 with that epic default name has absolutely outstanding stats. Over 100 goal involvements across just more than half that many games, and with an incredible shooting precision to match. On the other side, it's Salvation, the captain, who's leading from the front with that shooting percentage, doing well on both goals and assists. Very involved, very well-rounded players, these two, and we're looking to see both of them lead tonight.
Absolutely, and all of these players, I'm sure, chomping at the bit to get going. We're going to get them in here on the pitch. They're all waiting in the wings now, so letting them know that they can join up. They should be heading down to the field as we speak. We're going to get this a best of 7 underway, the first final of the RSC Season 14 here. And not a better way to get it started than with this amateur tier. One of my favorite tiers to cast because you never quite know what you're going to get with these amateur matchups. We're going to put 5 minutes on the clock. And in the blue, Potatoes. In the orange, Nuwa, Salvation, Anarchist, and Dab Status on the field for Potatoes. Prided Bird, Super Shooter, and Tech 4 representing Nuwa in game number 1. And the best part of the season, best of 7s, is underway here in the amateur tier for RSC Season 14. And I cannot wait to see what these teams have got for us tonight, Fish.
No, it's such a back and forth in this division. It's always so entertaining because you can never quite tell. We've already seen a couple of early aerial attempts that have gone by the wayside. And it's that kind of time, it's that kind of place in this league where you could see anything happen. There will be so many open goal whiffs, and there will be some astounding shots you don't necessarily expect from this kind of quality.
Yeah, I love these the lower to mid tiers because sometimes you see a 6-man like a sextuple commit, and sometimes you see just a flip reset out of nowhere. So always fascinating to kind of have expectations subverted, because especially once you get up into the higher levels, expectations are the name of the game. But Anarchrist is gonna break it open here in game number 1. Nice little flip shot from the outside of the box. It's 1-0 for Potatoes.
Yeah, and just as I'm saying, that's an angle you don't necessarily expect somebody in this division to hit. And the defender really wasn't expecting it, just drove right past it as it flew into the bottom half of the goal. Just a minute gone and they take the lead. And I don't know how much that we can take for that for the rest of this series, because it's so early. But taking the early lead is something you want to do in this best of 7. It can only help you moving forward.
Absolutely.
Something we don't mention as much in these best of 7s is that there's possibility for substitutes much more than in the normal 4-game series. If something's not going right after 2 games, Potatoes or Nuwa might make a sub, bring in that 4th man, see if they can change it up.
Yeah, it's definitely gotta balance the fact that it's a longer series, and just the mentality has to be there for a little bit longer when you've got 7 games to play. But definitely first goal, Potatoes aren't going to complain. There's a lot more to be done yet. Definitely can't be looking to the trophy quite yet, but first goal is not a bad place to start. Nuwa, on the other hand, are going to be looking for their first as Tech 4 puts the first shot on frame for the orange side. It's turned away by Salvation, who now is going to get the offense started for Potatoes on the other end. A centering ball here for Dab Status, but it's denied by Super Shooter. Anarchrist will come in the rotation up over top. Can't get around Prided Bird cleanly. Super Shooter takes Salvation off the pitch, and there's going to be a long clear for Nuwa.
Ooh. Yeah, it was a great recovery from Salvation just to make that save and take the ball all the way up the other end of the field. It's always a little bit of a toss-up at this level when you make those aerial center balls, because you just don't know who's going to get there. It actually nearly turned out for Potatoes, but they're going to have to be a little bit more, I think, actually a little less creative and be more direct, because those ambitious balls don't always work. As we see, Potatoes, they've had so much of the ball in the Nuwa half. Nuwa haven't been able to get very much. Only 1 shot to Potatoes 4, and Potatoes hold the lead valiantly.
Yeah, and it at this level, sometimes all you got to do is put the ball in frame, and maybe it'll go in. You can just bait out a whiff on a ball in from past midfield sometimes. So just like you said, Fish, maybe the simpler shots are the way to go here for these two teams. Nuwa still only registering 1 shot, and we've got 2 minutes just about left here in game number 1. A soft touch from Prided Bird. He's going to get the dunk as he falls back down to earth, but it'll be Dab Status first there. Tech 4 wrapping it back through midfield. Super Shooter is going to be up in support. A good 50 by Tech 4 will get it out over the center of the box, but Anarchrist, a great read to turn that one aside. 90 seconds left on the clock. A 1-goal game for Potatoes still. I think this might be the lowest scoring amateur game I have ever seen, but there's still time for that to change here. Does not take very much for the scores in amateur to swing wildly. Salvation gets that one underneath of Prided Bird, and Tech 4 can't handle it. A shot from Dab Status will be taken away by Super Shooter, preserving this 1-0 lead. And 60 seconds left. The Nuwa still have not yet been able to find any kind of offensive chemistry.
Yeah, teams definitely feeling the nerves. You know, it's on stream, it's the finals, the first game. Teams are still feeling each other out. It's low scoring. I don't know if either team are wanting to make the risk. That's a great save from Salvation, who's really been saving his team on the back line. Another good save from him. Nuwa get their second shot from Tech 4, their leading scorer, but there just hasn't been very much from them.
Yeah, just not quite finding the opportunities at this point. It's not even a matter of quality. It's a matter of quantity. Sometimes we sit here and we look at teams that generate a lot of shots but don't really make anything threatening downfield. This is kind of the opposite. Nuwa haven't had very many opportunities to even generate any kind of looks, because Potatoes have just shut down that midfield line, closed the border, if you will. Dab Status is going to break it open with 11 seconds left. Most likely the dagger here in game number 1, and Potatoes just a simple gameplay here. Game plan for Nuwa in game number 1.
Yeah, that'll put the cherry on the game 1 cake for sure. They scored just a minute gone to nail that open net with only 11 seconds to go. Keeping this clean sheet in this game last 10 seconds will be important. I'm sure they will, because gameplay is typically not quick enough to steal a goal. But really great gameplay from Potatoes. The defense was there. Didn't even allow Nuwa that many shots. They got some in the end, but none of them were very threatening. Really well played by the Potatoes, and they just have to keep moving this forward. Nuwa might have to rethink a little bit, be more direct.
Yeah, Potatoes saving every shot that Nuwa put on frame. Not particularly hard to do when only have to save 2 of them, but It was not a bad game from Nuwa. I don't think they kept it a 1-goal game for most of it. It was pretty much garbage time at the very end. Prediction is up currently if you want to spend your RSC points to predict who will win game number 2. But Potatoes capping off a solid game number 1. I definitely think that is a great foundation to build off of. But Nuwa's got the ability to take this back to him, and the Potatoes need to make sure they do not rest on their laurels here as we head into game number 2, because there's still work to do.
Yeah, there's still a lot to do, but Potatoes, they'll take a lot out of this. This is a team that swept 6 of their 14 matches over the course of the season, which is an incredible record. Of course, it's a lot to ask in a finals. There's been a lot, personally for me, of reverse sweeps that have happened in this playoffs, in this finals. This league really can toss and turn, and it can always go either way. So Potatoes, they just have to stay consistent, but not even conceding a goal, not even really facing that many threatening shots, keeping the midfield pretty locked up, spending most of the time in the Nuwa half. They can just keep moving this forward. There's not much to discuss so far, but if they can keep up this consistency, they'll find their way in game 2 and steadily. But Nuwa, if they come out of the blocks firing, if they come out and they score 1-2 early goals in this game, it could completely flip the other direction. And at this point in the series, the teams are still feeling each other out. It takes 2 or 3 games usually before we see the series ramp up to its true quality. This game too could still go either way.
Absolutely. Still a ton of Rocket League laid out before us here. It is not every day that we get to play a full series in RSC, so always exciting when the series have the potential to go longer than 4 games, although this one still isn't out of sweep territory yet, only through 1 game, and Potatoes are going to do their best to try to get out on the front foot. That's a great cross from Super Shooter, but it's denied at the last second by the defensive Potatoes. Dab status 1-on-1 against Super Shooter. He's going to turn it right around 31 seconds into game number 2, and Potatoes have got themselves another goal.
Yeah, I'd have to pull out the calculator for that one. No,
math is hard sometimes, okay?
Great recovery from Salvation on the goal line. I think the shooter on the other end might have just nicked the goal if Salvation hadn't got back and cleared it just before it crossed that halfway line. So it's Salvation really pulling the strings. I don't know that he's scored yet in this series. I don't think he has, but leading from the back line, true captain mentality. And I'm really impressed by his gameplay so far. I knew I have to shut him down.
Yeah, sometimes it is the positioning that almost is more important than the touches made, and Salvation has been in the right place at the right time very consistently here for Potatoes, doing a great job leading the way through the rotations, which is so critical at any stage, any level of Rocket League. A little bit of a whiff there, but it's off frame, and Anachrist is there. Maybe it was a communicated whiff. Anachrist had a pretty good line on that one across the frame, and he's going to take it all the way across the field, the fake at the very end. Anachrist finds the second for Potatoes.
This is an incredible amateur. You can never tell whether it's purposeful or not, but Anarchist, it works either way. And Super Shooter's left out to dry on the back line again. He must be feeling himself, but he has to not get in his own head because there's still so much time left in this game. Nuwa can still pull this back. You don't want to go 2-0 down.
Time left in this game, time left in this series. No reason to panic if you are Nuwa yet. Obviously, you're not going to want to let this one get too much further out of hand, but there's still time to be able to turn it around both in this 5-minute game and in the best of 7 series for sure.
Wow.
That's a great bang from Super Shooter. Half volley from his own half, a minute and a half in, and Super Shooter's found the first goal here for Nuwa.
That's exactly what he needed. That's exactly what Nuwa needed. Super Shooter got caught out on both of those early goals from the Potatoes, but to just get that powerful hit that you don't expect at this league, just launch it across the field, and Salvation couldn't make the save on this occasion. They don't keep the clean sheet. Perfect sweep is now out of reach. Nuwa, they have to build on this now.
I am consistently blown away by the players in this tier. When they added amateur to RSC in season 6, I want to say it was, just about like 2 years ago now, the amateur was full of players that could not aerial to make that save like Dab status got up. They were full of players that couldn't make reads to defend the backboard, full of players that were just barely learning how to rotate, let alone do anything flashy like this. And now as we see these amateur players go, it's almost unrecognizable from the same tier as it was before. Arguably, it's not the same tier that it was before because everybody's just gotten so much better. And I don't think that there's a better example than what we've been seeing out of both these teams so far, especially out of Potatoes. Anarchist almost finds a third as we cross halftime here in game number 2. Nuwa have looked at definitely a step faster here in this second frame, but still not quite able to consistently break down that Potatoes defense. It's just been so stalwart on the back line. Anarchist is going to be there for a shot. Tech 4 has the save to the corner. It's a dangerous bounce for Tech 4 though, and Dab status there denied by the post. And now Super Shooter will take over downfield one-on-one, puts it off frame, and the follow-up from Prided Bird is there. We've got ourselves a tie ball game.
Wow, this is amazing play from Nuwa just to carry this ball upfield. Super Shooter knocks it past Anarchist, and Prided Bird is there to perfectly read the rebound and place it in the bottom corner out of reach. And Nuwa, they've got themselves well back into this. It's been a much more even game. The shots are almost even. Potatoes just edge at 5-4, but Nuwa have been a level up since last game. Unfortunately, they get really caught out there on the sidewall, and Anarchist regains the lead for the Potatoes. But Nuwa, they've really got something now. They've got to keep going. There's still 2 minutes left, plenty of time for them to get back into it again. And Salvation hasn't been the player he was last game either. Zeros all across the stats board. Nuwa can keep catching him out. Potatoes can't make up the difference. Nuwa have still got plenty of chance.
Absolutely, still plenty of time. That kickoff goal, not the greatest for Nuwa, but stranger things happen, and it's not particularly hard to find a kickoff goal of your own. But man, Dab status is just gonna get it all done by himself. What a read here, going up for the fast aerial. We found it just in time before the flip expires. Nice little soft touch. Prided Bird can't find it in time, and the lead is doubled here for the Potatoes. We can sit here and say that Nuwa still have a chance, but that status has been on fire. Anarchist as well. Salvation really hasn't had to do a whole lot because the other 2 players for Potatoes have been unstoppable.
Yeah, just as I'm hyping up Nuwa, immediately they concede twice. The lead basically goes back to the same way it was just 30 seconds into the game, except with much less time to recover. I mean, they had something for most of the game. Nuwa were kind of in control. Potatoes asserted their authority at the beginning and now at the end, and that's what matters. I don't know if Nuwa will be able to pull it back here. They've got a chance. Unfortunately, unable to slot it in that corner. Oh, he had it in here. The defender couldn't get back to it for some reason. Tech 4, I think, slots his first goal of this series, and that's big for him because he's the top scorer and he needs to be involved. Nuwa very much still in this, but it's such a back and forth in this game too.
Yeah, it looks like Salvation thought that 50 was going to come out, stayed on the backboard looking to try to get out on the breakout, and instead was just shot in the back of the goal, probably right where Salvation would have been sitting if they had opted to go for the save instead. Another offensive opportunity with 60 seconds left for Nuwa, very quickly cut out by the defense of Potatoes. They've just got to hold on for less than a minute now. A critical defensive positioning time here. Really does not get any more crunch time protecting this 1-0 lead. A little hairy there for a moment, but Anarchist doing a good job keeping the ball down in the orange end. Super Shooter with a touch and the boost secure. It's a big boost grab. Tech 4 downfield. Super Shooter's got a bump on one. Demo on Anarchist. Dab status fills the gap pretty well. Salvation's up to an undefended backboard. Time bleeding off the clock, off the crossbar and out. Dab status is going to keep it there. Even if a goal doesn't go in, that's about 10 seconds off the clock. Defensive stand there, critical for Salvation. Last man stop on Tech 4. Super Shooter's a drive opportunity denied by Anarchist. 10 seconds left. Can Nuwa find one, or is it going to be Potatoes taking game number 2? And with another goal, Potatoes lock it in.
And it's just like last game, but in such a different way, if that makes sense. They've got that 1-goal lead. They were just holding it, and with around 10 seconds to go, they double it. And Nuwa's mentality, their spirits, just crumble right at the end of the game for the 2nd time in a row. They made such an effort, and it was almost there. It's still possible for them. They had a lot. They had a lot of those aerial 50s. They made a lot of those aerial shots. It's like you said, I mean, the level of this tier, just like the rest of Rocket League, is just elevated so much. Amateur is worlds away from where it was, just like pro play, just like RLCS is worlds from where it was. It looks like Nuwa might be making a sub here. 2 of their players have left the game. I'm not sure if they need to discuss tactics before they decide who's going to play this 3rd game. But yeah, they need to make this change. They need to take a little bit of a timeout because Potatoes 2-0 up in the series. This is their strong point. They've swept, as I said, almost 50% of their matches over the course of this season. They're on course to do it again, looking very strong. Anarchist and Dabs there with 5 shots apiece, really asserting their authority over this Nuwa team. it's still possible. You got to say it's always still possible,
Absolutely.
but it's going to take a lot. Papa Lane looks like he's coming in here for this Nuwa team.
Papa Lane coming in, and I believe Super Shooter left and then came back, and still waiting on to see who the other player for Nuwa there will be, but we will find out soon enough. Super Shooter's back, so Super Shooter will be on the pitch. And shout outs to BDBR, among other people, who got a bunch of RSC credits awarded to them because they bet them on Potatoes instead of Nuwa to take game number 2. Now, as we head into game number 3, this is really crunch time for Nuwa. They've got to find a way to be able to just answer. They've not really had an answer quite yet, and you know, they've had a couple good looks. Game number 2, obviously a lot better of a look than game number 1, just because they generated some offense, but now they've got to find a way to generate that offense and stay ahead of Nuwa while doing so, or stay ahead of Potatoes while doing so. I know which team is which. I swear, I know which team is which. I just I get the colors mixed up in my head. It's fine.
Wait, Potatoes are closer to orange than blue.
Yeah, I mean, last night I was casting again, and the math was coming quick and easy, but the colors were really hard. So, you know, sometimes it just can't have everything. Everybody's got their shortcomings, but Potatoes have done a pretty good job of closing those shortcomings down. Their defensive rotations have been honestly what I feel like is the difference maker in this series. The shooting has not hurt them. The Potatoes have been very good on the offensive end, but I feel like their defensive consistency is what sets them mostly apart from Nuwa more than anything else through these first 2 games.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, they've had a lot of shots. Shooting percentage has varied a little bit, but it really is their positioning. A lot of the shots Nuwa get aren't even able to be put on target. It looks like we might be having some ping issues in this lobby. I'm not sure if that's me, but all the players are fine. That's all that matters. Something interesting here, Tech 4, obviously on the Nuwa side, subbed himself out, giving Papa Lane a game, see if he can change something in this game 3. But big ups to Salvation, you know, speaking to the casualty and really just friendliness of this tier and this league in general, giving Sniper Wolf a game while 2-0 up in the finals. That's big. See if Sniper Wolf can make a difference, and if he can make a contribution as Potatoes take the lead in this first game, that'll be big for him too, to just be able to put something into this amateur finals.
Yeah, that one's rifled in. It does look like the lobby is not the greatest right now. I'm not sure. That's just a Rocket League thing, but it also looks like it's affecting both sides evenly, and we were well past the first minute before anything was said, so we're going to play this one out. We might remake the lobby after this one just to get us a cleaner and less pingy lobby, but it is definitely affecting both sides here, so we shall play on in game number 3. And Potatoes are pretty much unfazed by the fact that the lobby is just not really wanting to cooperate with the high level of Rocket League that's going on here. It's just you know, kind of hard to deal with it. Both teams doing so valiantly. It's Sniper Wolf is going to be on the end of that one, coming in off the bench and finding another shot in the back of the net. It's 2-0 Potatoes, just about 2 minutes gone.
Well, that will speak to amateur. Anarchist for the first goal. He sniped it in straight from the middle, into the middle, past all 3 of the Nuwa players. There was no chance of the level of power that he put in. Less than 30 seconds later, misses an open net. And then less than 10 seconds after that, gives a great pass off the backboard for Sniper Wolves and Dabs to team up on to put in for their second goal. Potatoes, really, it's not looked like much of a competition other than a couple of minutes in that game too. Potatoes have just asserted themselves so well in this game. And, you know, Nuwa, I think at this point, they just got to have fun. They got to play out. They got to feel themselves. And if they can get a chance, that's great. Super Shooter's got a chance here. Flakes it into the top. That's a really great shot from him, and he's got to feel that. He's got to give that to the rest of his team. He's been leading this Nuwa team so far. And if they can build off of this, if they can build off Super Shooter's confidence, I really hope he's screaming and yelling in the comms right now, hyping his team up. And, you know, there's still half this game. There's still at least one more game after this. It's not done. It's just a lot.
Yeah, definitely just a lot of work to be done, but Nuwa are not going to go away quietly. I mean, they've made it this far. Anarchist is just going to drive that one in the back of the net, though. Slicing them up, getting one to go. I think it was Super Shooter just a little bit over-eager on the challenge, and Anarchist sees it all the way in. 2-goal lead yet again for Potatoes. They've been they've been in this position where they've got a comfortable lead for a pretty good chunk of this series so far. We're here again in game number 3, but Nuwa are continuing to stay alive. A couple more shots to the backboard. Prided Bird's got to be careful there. Very far up his third man, but manages to get the 50 on it to keep it here in the blue zone. Be cleared away by Dab Status. Prided Bird right back into the blue box. A backflip shot, and it's going to beat the defense. The bicycle kick for Prided Bird, catching the rotations of Potatoes out, and Nuwa bring themselves within 1.
Well, the bicycle kick goal, excellent there from Prided Bird, just to cut the lead in half. I was going to say Anarchist has been leading the team. He's been sensational in this series so far. He's 2 for 5 on his goals, leading from the front this game so far. But he just gives the ball away there for the second. And now the whole of Potatoes caught out on this kickoff goal. Another excellent flick from the unbeatable Dominus. Super Shooter has been great in his flicks. And if he can keep this up, I mean, they've got such a real chance. Super Shooter's sniping has been pretty good across this whole series. When he gets the chances, he's just got to keep getting those chances, putting himself in those positions, get a little help from his teammates. And it's a tie game. This could still very much go either way. If Nuwa takes this game, it makes things real interesting for the mentality of both teams going into game 4.
Absolutely, especially with the subs that came in. We're going to have to see what the tactics like, the mentalities like as we wind down this game number 3 and head into game number 4, regardless of who wins. It's been huge for these two teams to be able to get all of this going. Super Shooter's been automatic, and he's going to get credit for another one. An own goal from Potatoes is going to give Nuwa what I believe is their first lead of the series.
It is an Anarchist from 100-0 across this game, absolutely dominating on the offensive front in the first half. Gives the ball away for the second, caught out on the third, and now own goals for the fourth. You can't let this get to his head. They can still take a 3-0 lead in this series, but Anarchist, that's a devastating play, and you gotta feel for him there.
Yeah, it's a tough one for Anarchist, but even then, I think that it was one that was probably going to find its way to the back of the net anyways, just from how great of a shot it was. So it is definitely tough sometimes just to be put in that position as the last man, but Anarchist is still playing very well. I mean, can't let that one error get him down. He's got 6 shots here in game number 3, so still leading the way for the offense of Potatoes. Dab Status will turn, has a save there on Prided Bird's attempt to save your medal for Dab Status, who's done a great job on the defensive end. With 30 seconds left, Nuwa are closing in on being able to make this a 1-game series rather than staring down the barrel of reverse sweeping for the championship. So a massive result here for Nuwa, and even with the issues that we were having with the packet loss and the ping issues at the beginning, everything has cleared up. It's been like this for like the last 4 minutes. So a very indicative performance here for Nuwa, starting to turn it around. And as zeros hit the scoreboard, that one will be played down. I was worried they were going to keep it up. That would have been a bad look for Nuwa, but they're going to get a win here. Game number 3 going to Nuwa, 4-3.
Well, give them a lot of credit because they really fought that one through. The shooting was more even this time around. We're looking at 7 against 9. But Nuwa, they clutched up in the end. They needed a little bit of help from the Potato side, but in the end, it came through. It looks like Sniper Wolf has left the lobby, and Salvation has given himself, maybe, unless everybody's leaving the lobby, so it might just be a change. But if
Everybody should leave the lobby, yeah.
If Salvation makes the call to take Sniper Wolf out and put himself back in, that could be a sign that Potatoes are taking this seriously, because if they face a loss and they take out their fourth again to put their captain back in, then they're really going for it. And how that affects how both teams perceive the series could still be interesting. But full credit to Nuwa. They cut the series lead in half. They make it a little bit more interesting because it was looking pretty comprehensive for Potatoes over the first 2 games. But we've got a real match on our hands here, and it's what the fans deserve for this amateur finals.
Absolutely. It is exactly what we deserve for this one. It's going to be a series now that Nuwa's got one. Potato's going to have to find a way to respond, and we are going to get a new lobby up. Ben, in the background, I'm just telling you this in your ears instead of typing it. The lobby's back up. It's the same info as it was before. And once Ben is back, there he is, we can start again. We're going to get right into game number 4 here. I'm going to do my best to get a prediction up as we start. I'm going to let the players know that they join, and then Fish is going to start us off. So let's get these guys in and running. Game number 4 coming up here in a moment.
Yeah, the captains, they made their calls after game 2, and on the potato side, it looked like maybe Salvation was just having a bit of fun, taking it chill, letting their 4th guy play a game when they went 2-1 down. But Salvation very much back in the lobby for this game 4. And on the other side, Tech 4, he's made the call, he's kept himself out. Papa Lane stays in as he was part of the Nuwa team that took their win in game 3. And so how that plays now, I mean, the teams have very much felt each other out. They know how they play. Potato's very strong offensively, very good positionally. Nuwa still able to threaten through that unpredictability factor. And game 4, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting.
Absolutely is going to be. I mean, the fact that we've got a game 1 now is just, you know, it's not going to be a 4-0 sweep. Like, we've already added another wrinkle into this one. Somebody besides Potatoes has won a game. So that is the ideal way for this to go, for the first 3 games to go. Potatoes had a pretty dominant start, I would say, and then Nuwa finally that answer in game number 3, and now in game number 4, Nuwa's going to have an opportunity to show that it was not a flash in the pan, that they really earned that game number 3 win and maybe put us on a tied 2-2 series. Super Shooter will register the first shot of this game number 4, but it's going to be saved by Dab Status, who is demoed by Super Shooter, not happy that Dab Status saved that first shot. Salvation looking for the 1v1, gets Papa Lane to go, but can't find the shot. And already coming in off the bench and making an impact is Salvation. Another attempt here from Anarchist off the feed from Dab Status. And Potatoes have had a couple good looks downfield. They've yet to register a shot, but they're already threatening here. And they've got to make sure they stay on this offensive game, because Nuwa has announced that they are now playing in this final and that it is not just going to be a 4-0 Potato sweep.
Nuwa decided to show up? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, Nuwa decided to turn their monitors on.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and maybe Potatoes have turned theirs off. They're just, you know,
or something.
Give them a game, just for fun. Now that the teams are taking it seriously, for sure, we know that with the result of the substitutions before this game. But it's been pretty even so far. Only 1 shot in favor of Nuwa that Dab Status had to make a relatively simple save on. And the teams, you get the feeling they're a little nervy again. You know, the series is close back to where it started. Potatoes with that 1 game lead. And now they're not really sure what to do. Nuwa's not sure how to build on their game win form that they have. And Potatoes are feeling a little bit scared, maybe a little, I don't know, in their heads a little bit after the travesty that involved for them to lose that game 3.
Absolutely, and the rotations are starting to look a little bit shaky from Potatoes as well. We talked about how they just looked really good at the beginning of the series, and then even in the first half of this game and game number 3, they just haven't looked quite as consistent. They've not looked quite as clean as they did. So maybe some of those nerves starting to set in, the communication maybe breaking down a little bit, and that is leading to some miscommunications and just some poor rotations. Another one there is Anarchist gets it around his own teammate. Salvation will have the clearance, can't get it around Super Shooter clean. Prided Bird will put it right back into the blue zone. Dab Status back to the sidewall, at least cutting out a little bit of that danger. He's going to pop it through midfield. Anarchist underneath. Salvation with 100 boost waiting at midfield. Dab Status will work their way out on the rotation, and it's going to be Salvation first on it, but not if Super Shooter has anything to say. Deleting him off the pitch. Prided Bird tries to drive it straight in, and it is turned aside. A minute 47. We still have no goals on the board. And after 2 really high-scoring games where we kind of bookended, the game 1 was low-scoring, and now game 2 is low-scoring as well. So for game 4, again, numbers, colors. It's a Wednesday. And,
numbers hard.
Numbers hard, colors hard, names hard, English hard. Casting is easy though, especially when the Rocket League is this good. So it makes it real easy for us, and they continue to just slug it out here. Papa Lane gets another demo on Salvation, which has been kind of Papa Lane's name of the game, really playing that enforcer role for Nuwa, and it's worked out pretty well for them here. Salvation only has enough boost to put it to the back wall. Anarchist is going to jump in front of that one. Anybody following it from Potatoes? Anarchist looked like they might have had a look, and instead it's going to be 3-on-1 the other way. Super Shooter, another flick. The dominance unbeatable, but Anarchist is going to put it wide, and with 45 seconds left, Nuwa are starting to put on the pressure.
Well, I really backed Super Shooter on that one after seeing some of his flicks earlier in the series. Anarchist will follow this one up and put it away with just 36 seconds to go. That's huge for them in a game where there's only been 6 shots, 3 on either side. For him to be there to follow up this shot after Prided Bird makes the initial save, leaving the net open. That's enormous for the Potatoes. It's heartbreaking for Nuwa because they were looking really good in this game. They were making it really even. They were almost in control at some points. The physical play was there. The shooting was almost there. And now they find themselves down near the end of the game, and Potatoes still threatening.
Yeah, and being down this late is when you end up giving up a second goal because you're just pushing up so hard. You know you've got to find one. And if you're not careful, you might concede it. Papa Lane's going to find an opening, but nobody able to get there before Anarchist, who plays it to the sidewall. 10 seconds left on the clock. Anarchist is going to play it all the way down. It's a great touch from Papa Lane. Another touch from Super Shooter. But is anybody going to be able to get there from Nuwa in time? They've got to go the length of the pitch with zeros on the clock down into the blue end and not able to be continued. Potatoes are going to hold on, win game number 4, and put themselves on championship point.
Championship point indeed for this Garden squad. It's unbelievable for them to be here. Salvation, there was a lot on his shoulders. He backed his ability after watching his team lose with Sniper Wolf, the 4th man, coming in game 3. Again, full credits to him for being on this, potentially championship winning squad. But Salvation, he made a big call there to put himself back in. And whether it paid off, I don't know, because points-wise, he wasn't really that involved. But Potatoes, regardless, they take the game. And you look back to just before that Anarchist goal, Super Shooter in his Dominus. I was going to say the indomitable Dominus, but he is human after all when it comes to his shooting. Just flubbed his lines just, 10 or 20 seconds before Anarchist put the ball in the other end. And Nuwa, that's heartbreaking for them because now they've got to win 3 on the spin to make championship point. Either way, second place, still huge. But Nuwa, they've got to really get their heads back in the game now. Start fresh, start new. And I don't know if they'll make a sub, probably not, because they're looking strong with Papa Lane. And they can still make this happen.
Absolutely. It looks like we're going straight into it. Nobody subbing in or out. So exactly what you want to see. And all the players are here. We're going to get right into game number 5, what could be the last game of this amateur season. Excited to see if Nuwa have got another answer or if we're going to see Potatoes take it in 5 games, the gentleman's sweep. If I had to pick, if I was a betting man, which I try not to be most days, I would put my money on Potatoes. They've just looked so strong. They look so good in every phase of the game. Nuwa have had their moments, but Potatoes have just been that step ahead as Salvation rifles that one in off the kickoff. What a start for the captain and Potatoes here on championship point.
Salvation stamping his name on this series with the opening goal just 4 seconds into the game. Potatoes have been unreal over the course of most of this series. It was unlucky moments that had them lose in game 3. We give Nuwa a lot of credit, but being down this early, there's still plenty of time, obviously, but Salvation, that's huge for him. It's big for the Potatoes. Now they've got to not be complacent. They've got to stay concentrated and move forward. So do Nuwa, but Salvation, he was great in his defensive ability in the first game, in the first couple of games. He really led the team from the back. He started a couple of counterattacks that led to goals. To nail that one in 4 seconds, beating the last man back, and put that goal in Potatoes. Ooh. It looks like they're going to be championship winners.
It definitely does. They're definitely playing like it, but Nuwa are threatening here. Papa Lane had a demo breaking things open for a minute and couldn't quite get it through for the shot, but it's at least a good look, a good thought for Nuwa trying to vary their attacks a little bit. And Potatoes doing a pretty good job standing firm, denying anything that is coming towards the middle of the pitch. They're doing a great job of just pushing things out towards the sidewalls where shots are not quite as dangerous. All the way downfield here from Dab Status. Prided Bird can't find it. 2 players off the backboard is going to clear things up for Salvation, who has already looked really good in this game. Number 5, Anarchist shot denied by Super Shooter. Just a minute and a half gone here in game number 5. Another ball into the orange end for Salvation will be across the pitch by Prided Bird. Dab Status, a great read. He's going to put it right back into the corner, still forcing the issue here in the orange end. Anarchist not quite able to find that read as quickly as they would have liked. Salvation also double committing on it, but doing well was Dab Status to just punt that one right back in to the orange end to at least give some time for rotations to come through. Anarchist all the way across the box, and nobody diving at that one from Potatoes. Potatoes really looking like they're more than willing to sit back and protect this 1-goal lead. They've got to do it for a while. Still 3 minutes on the clock for Nuwa to be able to find a goal of their own and tie it up. But Potatoes have really just kind of set up shop here in the orange end.
Nuwa have been stuck in their own half for so much of this game. It doesn't even look like they have a chance. It looks like Potatoes ironically playing with their food, you know, absolutely demolishing this goddess team.
Oh my
and staying
lord.
in their half, almost nailing another one. Dab Status couldn't quite get around to it. Salvation puts it on target. Big
counterattack.
An opportunity almost snubbed out by Dab Status, and all 3 of these Potatoes players have had such a big contribution in this game to keep Nuwa fully pressed down. They haven't had even a look barely into the half of the Potatoes team.
Yeah, I mean, only 1 shot, so even that 1 shot was from range. It's not even like it was something that was a tough shot from close in. It was from across half field. So definitely a tough look here for Nuwa, as they've really struggled to get out of their own end with any consistency. Prided Bird missing that one. A double commit from Papa Lane, and Super Shooter is going to open things up for Anarchist, but can't quite get the ball off of either player, so it's still Super Shooter on the offensive drive. Anarchist, a critical stop all the way downfield. Papa Lane will be there, as well as Super Shooter for the save, but a great clearance from Potatoes in what looked like a pretty dangerous situation. So they're doing a good job of keeping their heads on straight, not panicking. And I mean, they're in the lowest pressure situation that you can have in a championship final, right? They're on match point. They've got 3 games to give. So even if they don't win this game number 5, it is not over for them by any stretch. They've been the better team for the vast majority of this series. Nuwa have had their moments, but it has been the Potatoes show, and Salvation is the ringleader. He gets it done again. 2 goals for Potatoes, 2 goals for Salvation, and 66 seconds away from an amateur championship.
Salvation leading from the front. That is a championship winning goal from a championship quality player in this Potatoes team if I've ever seen one. He's absolutely leading. The captain is leading this team to glory here. Nuwa barely had a chance. Prided Bird will make it interesting though. Nuwa's still in it. Potatoes have looking strong, Salvation especially. Just to change my tone here a little bit, forced by this dunk by Prided Bird, forcing that one into the top bin. Still a chance here, but some excellent shooting on display here in this last game. Really impressive amateur stuff.
Definitely does not look like the amateur that I remember, but we've already been through that, just how good these players have gotten. Salvation's going to have a wide open net to shoot at. 3 goals for the captain en route to what could be an amateur championship. He will not miss, and Potatoes are going to take that 2-goal lead right back.
Hat trick hero and Anarchist. We've seen him fake before again, purposefully or not, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for Potatoes, doesn't matter for Dirk in the Garden. As it looks like Salvation and his hat trick off of 5 shots will seal the championship. Nuwa have got a lot to do in the last 45 seconds. They've got to get this ball out of their corner and into the other half. I don't know if they'll be able to do it. Potatoes have been so strong. 10 shots in this game to Nuwa's 2. Prided Bird with that 1 long range one and that 1 just forced in short range. Super Shooter's going to make it interesting. Prided Bird. This Nuwa team just will not die.
They will not die, and Super Shooter's really getting it done there. What a touch to the backboard for Super Shooters to open it up for Prided Bird just to put it away. That is crunch time, clutch time performance stuff for Super Shooters here in the closing stages of game number 5. They know they need to score one more. They've only got 15 seconds left to do it. Will they be able to get it done? An opportunity here for Super Shooters, but it's denied by Salvation at the last second. 10 seconds left on the clock now. Papa Lane hunting for a demo. Anarchist out wide. One player back, not going to be able to get there. And the Potatoes are going to be your Season 14 amateur champions.
Anarchist nails this one. It's the nail in the coffin from probably the MVP of this series. An unbelievable performance from the Potatoes, who fought a scruffy Nuwa team, but in the end, those two beautiful titanium white octanes come out on top. Well-deserved 4-1 win for the amateur championship.
4-1, the Potatoes representing the Garden franchise get it done. Congratulations to them. Currently up in chat is a vote for amateur finals MVP. You can vote with just 10 or 1 RSC chat points, and I will I'll refund them all when it's all said and done, because it's just the easiest way to do it. Yeah, I mean, man, what a great showing from Potatoes. They let Nuwa stick their noses in, keep it close for a little bit, and then just close the door. They slammed it shut in Nuwa's face. Potatoes really, they were in control of that series from the word go at the very beginning. They came out swinging. They did not let their end goal of winning this finals get away from them at any point. And it really is that killer instinct they had that set them up above Nuwa over the course of this entire thing. And, you know, you fight through an entire season to get to this point, and the Potatoes just, they showed why they were the best team in amateur and got it done here when it counts the most.
Yeah, definitely no doubt that they were the best through the season. They were by far the better team in this finals. Nuwa, full credit to both of these teams. Nuwa showed up. They made it interesting. They took a game off them to keep it interesting midway through. But Potatoes, as soon as that second goal from Salvation went in from that angle, that crossbar down, I knew it was pretty much over. And it was such a good performance from this whole squad. Salvation and Anarchist especially, they really shut down the Nuwa squad for so much of the series, and they deserve this title.
Absolutely hard fought from the Potato side. Hard fought from Nuwa as well. Like you were saying, they would not go away. They kept it close all the way through. And I mean, that's all we can really ask for here in the finals. So shout outs to both sides on a very hard fought series and a hard fought season. I mean, this is the culmination of like 3 months of work for these teams. So to get here to end it off on the highest note for Potatoes and just a note slightly lower for Nuwa. I mean, it's great to see these guys out here as just supporting everybody and playing. And I looked at the stream at one point, and we had like